Hello, Shayla. Welcome to Power Women Wellness. How are you
Hello,
doing?
hello.
I'm so excited to have you.
I'm happy
We,
to be here because you're going to be a really fun host. And I love your podcast and I love listening to the balance between like women in business and how important health and wellness is. And you bring it all together. So I love that.
and honestly, like you are the perfect person because I know your health story already, so I can't wait for you to share that. But knowing that you have a very powerful health story to say the least, I know everyone's gonna listen and be like, what just happened? And then obviously your corporate side and now your business side. So you truly are like the blend of like the perfect person to if I had to interview, you are the perfect person. So we will get started with the business side of things. So I just want you to
Okay.
share with us just your backstory of your career. And then obviously now you have a business and sharing us, whatever you want to share of like not only what do you do, but some of the wins, the struggles, kind of the real talk.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into the career a little bit. So I was ambitious since the day I was born, I think. And in my mid 20s, I had the American dream. So I worked for like it was called Spirit. It was Boeing. And I was a global leader in training and development. And I was married and I had the two kids and the two dogs and, all but the picket fence. And I was miserable. And so I thought that once I got there, it would be amazing. But I had really burned the candle at both ends and was
Mm.
physically and emotionally exhausted. And so that's when all my health stuff started to pop up too. So I had all these autoimmune diseases. I was going through a really messy divorce, and trying to figure out how to be a single mom and the sole provider and all the things. And one day I woke up and my arm was like frozen in place. And so I thought I was permanently disabled. And I dropped my kids off at daycare and I went into my doctor and I'd been seeing a specialist for some of these autoimmune diseases. And he could not figure out what was wrong with me. And so he's like, okay, I need you to go wait in this exam room. Just go lay down. I'm going to do some research and I'll come back. And workaholic Shayla, who thought her career was more important than it was like, okay, I hear you, but I just have this presentation I need to go do real quick at work. And so I'm just going to go run and do this presentation and I'll be back.
I'm surprised your doctor was like, and that's the problem.
No, legit, he did. So Lahana looked at me like I was a little green alien, right? And he's like, no, do you not understand how serious this is? And I was like, I do, but also the presentation is serious. And so I'm going to go do it. It's like in your career, oftentimes we have those moments that feel like it's all or nothing. Like, this
Yeah.
is the moment. If I do this, then they'll see my capability. Then I'll be up for promotion. And we kind of get drugged through that a lot too, right? Like,
Yeah.
this one project is what's really going to matter. And so I had lied to myself about that and made things feel more important and heavier than they were. It's kind of like
Yeah.
FOMO. Like, you think if I don't get invited to
Yeah.
this party, like I'll never be invited again. You do that at
Yeah.
work, right? And so I went there and I held up, like, I got a manila folder and I like held it up over my arm, hoping that nobody would notice that my arm was frozen. It's ridiculous. So I went back that day to the doctor's office and he gave me an injection and tried to like massage it out and it still wasn't moving. And he looked at me in the eyes and he said, Shayla, if you do not slow down, you will die.
Oh my gosh. But
And
props to him for saying the hard shit. Like, let's be real. Like, that's really hard to tell someone.
and it's exactly what I needed
Yeah.
because I really thought everything like, well, I'll just get it done between 11 and midnight, or I'll just add one more thing. And like, I had always prided myself so much on my work ethic. It wasn't ever that I thought I was the best or the smartest or whatever, but I'll outwork anyone. And I
Yeah.
remember I had a boss once that said, Shayla, you get more done on your worst day than other people on their best day. And like that seems like a compliment, but I really went the wrong way with that. So I took
Yeah.
that compliment and made it my like whole life and my whole persona, right? And I'll outwork anyone until I'm like literally dying. I was physically dying at that point.
Wow.
And I needed him to say that. So that was like my breaking point. I went home that night and like I'm in the parking lot getting ready to pick up my kids from daycare. And I remember the moment like my hands are on the steering wheel and I'm bawling.
Mm.
And I promised myself, like, you will find a better way. And that was the day I committed to myself. Like, you will figure this out. And so I studied three things. So I was already in charge of leadership development. So I kind of had like
Yeah.
a head start on like what makes some people more successful than others. Then
Okay.
I looked at what makes some people happier than others. And then I studied my health and how do I get past these autoimmune diseases so that I can have the energy for being a
Yeah.
single mom in corporate. Because it was so important in my heart that my daughters could see that you can have an amazing career and be a really amazing invested mom.
Yeah.
And that is not just available for men.
Yeah.
And so
Love that.
I wanted no solution to this to be that I gave up on my career because I
Yeah.
wanted them to know that they could have both. But I couldn't do any of it without my health.
It's not realistic either because you're a single mom. There has to
Yeah.
be money flowing in. So
Yeah.
you had to
And at
figure it
that
out.
time, I was the only provider for them.
Yeah.
So it was hugely important that I figured it out and didn't die.
Yeah. And so what transitioned you from corporate to business?
Yeah. So I studied all of those things and I started making all these changes. And some of them flopped and some of them didn't. There was like zero playbook for how to do both, right? How to actually be
Yeah.
happy and have a good career. And then it started working. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm saying no to more things at work and I keep getting promoted. I'm
Oh.
spending more time with my children and I'm making more. And I kept thinking, like, someone's going to figure this shit out. Like, that they're not going to let it keep working. Right. But it did. It kept working. The higher up I went, the easier and more balanced my life got. And it's because I had developed a system that allowed me to
I
have
love that.
discernment and focus on what truly mattered, that allowed me to show up with
Yeah.
executive presence and not be known for getting the most done, but be known for having the most impact.
I
Right.
love that.
And the higher I got up and the more I got promoted, the more leniency I got. I didn't miss anything, Lahana.
I love that. And I want everyone to know, like, just to remind them, you are still in corporate. I think that there's this idea that in order to have that balance and freedom, you have to turn to entrepreneurship. And
Mm.
I ran into a funny ass reel the other day where it's just like, people just be like, I just want to be an entrepreneur. And she was like, no, you fucking don't. And I'm like, that's so true because honestly, we don't need everyone to be an entrepreneur. And that's not the place that, everyone may feel like they need to be in order to get that freedom, in order to get that balance. So it's really refreshing to hear like you were in corporate, like you were still doing
Yeah.
that and you still had that balance, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
100. Yep. And that is my life's work is to show people how they can have an amazing life while still in corporate.
Yeah,
95% of my clients are corporate leaders, right?
I love that.
And teaching them how they can have that amazing life there. So I first teach them like how they can improve at the exact same situation they're at. Same role, same company, same boss, same people, and how when we manage their mind and we make some of these changes, how they can have a completely different experience in that same place, right?
I love that.
Then we'll try to get them promoted if they want at their company. At the end of the day, if we make those changes and their company doesn't align to the lifestyle that they want, then we'll find them something else.
Yeah.
But the first thing we're going to do is build all those internal skill sets because wherever you go, you bring yourself with you.
Yeah.
And when you move to a new company, then you're really in that proving energy, right?
Yeah.
And that's when you want to go to all of those, revert to all those old habits of overworking and proving and doing too much. And so we've got to have that safe little sandbox to get it all in place at first. And that's where you currently are. And some people go, oh my God, I
Yeah.
had no idea I could stay here and love it. Right.
Oh, I love that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And I love
That's
what you were
amazing.
saying about like corporate versus being an entrepreneur. I saw a reel the other day too that was like, I'm not working 40 hours a week for someone else. I'm gonna work 100 hours a week for myself.
I know, and stuff like that. I'm like, actually, you think there's pros and cons to each for sure. But I think that there's this glamorization of entrepreneurship online, especially in the female
Yeah.
business world of be your own boss and whatever. And with that comes a lot of negative shit too, like if I'm being completely honest. And so I was like, honestly, if I feel like I knew the whole spectrum of things, I'm in it deep. So I'm like, I'm in it deep at this point. But if I knew,
Yeah.
I may not have actually chosen this route. I mean,
Yeah.
I do love it. I think it takes a certain person, and I know that I'm built for it. But yeah, I'm always like, but we need people to not be that either, because businesses
Yeah.
won't run if we're all just a bunch of fucking entrepreneurs. So I'm just like, no, I love the idea of like if you feel like you want that balance, but if you're like, oh, I'm so jealous because I do have freedom. No, I'm like you. I'm like, I believe that you can have that even if
Mhm.
you're not an entrepreneur. And I love that. That's like
Yeah.
especially like what you do. So tell me more, because I know you mentioned the frozen shoulder, but
Yeah.
your health story goes even deeper. So tell me more about that. You know what I'm talking
You
about.
got it. You got it.
You
Yeah.
guys, when she first told me, I feel like my mouth was on the floor.
Yeah. So
the whole time.
I'll just do a quick like fast forward through time. So I kept working in corporate. I ended up moving out of HR, leading mergers and acquisitions globally for a company with 45,000 employees and $7 billion. And it was so fun coaching CEOs and leaders of every part of the business on how to become more profitable and how to have a great culture. Right. And so I went from that to then I got a job offer to be a chief people officer for a wine company.
Mhm.
And so I left Coke Industries that I had been at for like 10 years and I went to go do that. Again, another dream job. And every one of these roles, I mean, every time my income increased and I went from, my goal was I want to make 100K to then I want my base over 200. And then I was getting, six-figure bonuses and seven-figure contracts. And I was working less and less and less. Never missed a kid's birthday, right?
Love that.
And it doesn't mean that it's perfect and that I'm not,
Yeah.
doing anything. I was just working at night. I mean, for a while when I was younger, my kids thought that Singapore was a person because I would say I'm on the phone with Singapore. Um, and so, I mean, I blended things, but what I figured out was what was most important. And the things that I deemed most important, I have luxurious amounts of time for. Right.
Yeah.
So I moved all the way up to the C-suite and I was absolutely loving everything. And I've always struggled because I had started these lean in circles in corporate and we ended up having like 1,600 people in the US and Europe and Mexico. And it was teaching, people how to improve their work life and how to show up and improve executive presence and have this balance and all these things. Right. And then somebody would leave the company and then I couldn't help them anymore.
Mm,
And I was like, I hate that. I want to like keep everybody in and help everyone, women and men. And I just was stunted by still being in corporate. I was stunted by
mm,
the number of hours that I had. But like my whole goal is to teach people how great it can be in corporate. I've had this amazing career now. Once I figured it out, I mean, I had 10 years of promotions and balance and trips and beautiful experiences and the coolest things ever, right? And I wanted to be able to show people that they could do that. And so
yeah.
that's when I had like tried to do some of it while I was still in corporate, but of course, like that's really going to screw up your balance if you've got the day job and the side gig and the single mom. We had moved to Chicago by that time. I knew no one. It was just me and my two girls, right?
Oh my
And
gosh.
so anyhow, so I decided I was going to make the leap. I was going to leave corporate and do this full time. And so
Love that.
I did that. I left corporate. I started my own coaching business and I do one-on-one and group coaching. For performance and happiness is the mantra.
Love that.
And 2 weeks after I started my business, I went to go get what was a routine procedure for my autoimmune diseases. So by now I have four. So I have Hashimoto's, I have fibromyalgia, I have Sjogren's, and I have ulcerative colitis. And so I know all the
Just
things.
checking off the boxes, girl.
Wow. And I mean, a lot of people that have what I have are almost disabled,
Yeah.
right? And yet I want a full, beautiful life. So part of that means I have to be very intentional with how I take care of myself. And so we can go more into that. But at this point, one of the things that I was doing was proactively getting blood ozone treatments. And it was on a dialysis type machine. And I had done them before. They had been really helpful. And this time when I went in, there was I was going to say like a new nurse doing it, but she had been an RN for 20 years and had worked in labor and delivery. Like it was an RN. But she just made a mistake. And she accidentally, instead of clearing my line with fluid, cleared it with air. And it caused an air embolism. And the air embolism caused an immediate seizure and stroke. And by the time the EMS got there, I was like completely stroked out. And they took me to a local hospital and they said, like, there's nothing we can do for her. Her only chance is if we airlift her to Houston and get her in a hyperbaric chamber. And so they brought me there. They had to like cut your eardrums or something to put me in the machine. And then they put me in the machine and their machine breaks. And so they take me out of the machine and they put me in, I guess, ICU. And I have heart failure. And then I
My
get
God.
pneumonia while I'm in the hospital. And so I'm on full life support now in a coma,
I
right?
when that saying when it rains it pours. This is a health when it rains it pours.
Yeah.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
was supposed to pick up my kids that night to go meet my fiance in Chicago for family vacation. So me and four of the kids were going to go. And I have five, by the way, in our blended family. And I don't show up. And the facility that I was at didn't call my husband, my emergency
Mm.
contact. We only found out because my brother called me and someone in the ER answered the phone. And my husband's in Chicago and gets the call. And they said, we don't even know what hospital she's going to. So we didn't even know like which hospital to fly back. He was like walking on board on a plane and they called and said, just kidding. We decided to move her to Houston. And he like
Oh
deboards the
my
plane.
gosh.
Right. And my kids, it's kind of a beautiful thing. His ex-wife picked them up from school and took
Oh,
them over to her house. And they had no idea why mom didn't pick them up. And they just said like mom's appointment's running long.
oh my gosh.
I'm gonna cry thinking about it.
I'm about to actually like just picturing. Oh my God, I can't even. Yeah,
My
I
girls
was
were
tearing up.
11 and 13 at the time. And their
Oh
mom
my
was supposed to
gosh.
pick them up and take them to Chicago. And instead, they're getting picked up and taken to Houston to see their mom with tubes down her throat in a coma.
Oh my gosh. It
So,
shows you how quick life could change though.
yeah. And there
How
wasn't a surgeon or specialist there that said there was any reason I should live. And they said it's just prayers. And everyone prayed. So I lived.
yeah, you
Uh,
did.
and thank God I came back and it was hard. When I came back, I didn't even know my husband's name, my fiance at the time's name.
Wow.
But I was still in good spirits. Lahana, I was at
That's
the
a cool
hospital going, it
name.
starts with a B. And I was like proud of myself. The best thing ever. I told my brother who came to visit, and he has like it. I've like felt so loved by this. He left all of the parking passes like for every time you visit the hospital in my car. There was like 23 of them. He had came so much
Oh,
to see me while I was there.
oh.
I'm gonna cry for that. But while I was in the hospital, I told him I thought he was a nurse because like you're delusional when you come out of a coma, right? And I thought he was a nurse, and I was like, "You look just like my brother." And he said he got out his ID and showed me, and I just looked at it and I said, "Then did I get it?" And he goes, "You just smiled at me, goofy." I kept thinking we were like in a car driving. Like, I mean, I was out of it. I had no idea what was going on. I kept yelling at Brian. He called
Oh
my
my
best friend
gosh.
Liz and was like trying to get her to talk to me while we were there. And I kept telling him to focus on the road because I thought we were in a car driving and he wasn't focusing. And
Oh
so he
my
kept trying to
gosh.
be logical. I'm like, we're not in a car. Like, look, you're in a hospital bed. Do you see the picture on the wall? And Liz was like, Brian, can you please just focus on driving?
I
And
mean,
then
you've
he would say,
really,
yeah, and then I could move on and have a conversation.
oh my, I mean, but you've really like lived, like a lot of us hopefully never experience that, but you got to really live like the importance of health. Like we know the importance of health, we know like what could happen, and we, create that scenario in our brain, and it makes us emotional and makes us like, okay, I need to take my health seriously. But you got like you lived it, which
Yeah.
is and you've overcome it, which is wild. Um,
Yeah, I had to learn how to swallow again, walk again, talk again, all of it. And that was just 2.5 years ago. And
oh
so
my
I
gosh.
definitely have the tomorrow's not promised. I
I
fully
bet.
understand that. And I think how I survived it and how I was living before it too, you can choose to have health issues and be a victim, or you can choose to have health issues and be your own advocate and your own researcher and all of that. And it doesn't mean I don't have days that I'm like frustrated because you can't control it. And the
Yeah,
autoimmune diseases are really frustrating. Every day you wake up with a different amount of spoons. You don't know what's going to happen. It's like super annoying.
for
Energy
sure.
spoons. But there is so much we can do. And when I watch the lifestyle differences that I have versus other people, I'm truly grateful for coaching because I think mindset's made a huge difference for it, but also access to knowledgeable people like you and your team and researching enough to know who doesn't, who can and can't help you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I know that you put in one of the questions that I sent you was like wellness, and you put it in three buckets: physical, emotional, and cultivating joy mindset. I would love if you could give us like one example of what you do to deposit in those buckets a day.
Okay, perfect. Physical health, I lift heavy weights and I love it.
Yeah. Also, you guys, Shayla has like literally the perfect figure I've ever seen in my life. And every time I've seen her at the gym, I'm like, damn it, Shayla, you look so good. And I love that. And one thing that definitely made me remember was I forgot what it was, but maybe it was for one of the networking groups we're a part of. But you're like, I block off time for the gym, and you like, you don't. that is an appointment that's in there and you don't move it. And I love that because I'm like, that's what people have to do sometimes. And I love that
Yes.
you do that.
Yeah, so that's definitely mindset. And I'll say after the stroke, it really helped me because I've always worked out, but I've always been inconsistent. I mean, I might go 6 months without working out at all, and
Yeah.
then I go like crazy hard. And I was always that with food and exercise. After the stroke and with all the mindset work I've done, now it is like this perfect level of consistency. And it is not too hard or too intense because when you have autoimmune diseases too, you don't want to do anything inflammatory, and even high intensity
Yeah.
workouts can be that. And so it is the perfect level of consistency, and it feels like calm and nurturing to my body. And yet I still feel like I'm going hard and I'm strong and
Love
I'm
that.
getting the best results of my life. And it is just all I told myself, my mantra when I got out of the stroke, as soon as I got cleared for exercise, was just show up. I don't care if
Yeah.
you just walk. I don't care if you do one machine and you leave. Just show up because I wanted to become the kind of person who showed up every time I said I would.
Yeah.
And so then the mantra that I repeat now is it's who I am, it's what I do. So I
Love
actually
that.
enjoy working out, but I do not enjoy getting out of my bed. Let me tell you, my bed is so comfy, so comfy. The blankets are so comfy, the sheets are so comfy, and I like my sleep. Um, but I don't ever say like, so should I skip my workout? Instead, I say, of course I'm comfy. Of course I don't want to go, but I'm going to anyways because it's who I am. It's what I do.
Yeah.
And
I
that
love that.
kind of like reinforcement of who I want to be really helped me become it.
Yeah, I love that. And assuming this will probably be in that cultivating joy mindset bucket. But I remember us talking about this at brunch and the importance of it. And I told you that like I can usually even start to guess how someone's like healing journey is going to be depending on like the mindset going into it. Like if it is
Yeah.
negative or it's skeptical, I usually know that it's going to be a harder journey. It's going to be less joyful, probably more complaints, probably more annoyances versus people going in and being like, I'm doing this. And like, it's just more positive. They usually end up getting better results. And it's so huge. Mindset is so huge. So if there was like, yeah, that one thing that you do on a day to really help make sure that your mindset is on par, what is it?
I'm so kind to myself.
Oh, I was not expecting that.
I am so kind to myself. And I didn't used to be. I mean, I had everything that you can think of, especially with like, I'm older than you, but with where we grew up with body image stuff, um, I was very hard on myself. And I have been a yo-yo, like losing and gaining 30 pounds a year for 15 years kind of person.
Wow.
But I was also like never happy with myself and never this and never that. And now I'm so kind to myself. I love myself so hard, so soft.
Oh, do you feel like your that major health journey 2.5 years ago really changed that for you? Like
No,
really?
I
Okay.
think my mindset work before that changed it, and that mindset is what helped me heal. Because when I
Love
got
that.
out of it, everyone is like, "Oh my God, are you so mad? Did you sue the hell out of them?" And da da da. I'm like, I had no place for anger.
Oh, I love that.
None. What I learned from mindset, and I didn't learn mindset at work. I didn't learn mindset from my parents. You don't learn it anywhere. And the most successful and the happiest people know how to manage their mind. And it's not
Love
taught
that.
anywhere, right? Except for
Yeah.
coaching. And so that's where it's transformed my life. And so afterwards, I knew, and here's like the sentence that has made the biggest difference in my life. You do not have to think about things that do not make you happy.
Oh.
You do not
Oh.
have to think about things that do not make you happy. And so learning how to reprogram our brain and stopping that doom loop. And and there's so many different doom loops. And a lot of them is I'm a victim. Like it shows up
Yeah.
subtly, like it's not fair. That should not have happened to me. Right. It shouldn't have. But thinking about it makes you feel like shit. So stop thinking about it. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't mean it's not true, but thinking about it makes you feel like shit. So stop it. Right.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
so afterwards, I just kept thinking about how lucky I was to be alive and how grateful I was that I could walk to the kitchen that day. How grateful it was that I remembered another word that day. Right.
Yeah.
How grateful I was that my kids came home. And so, um, how to be kind to yourself, I think, is a long process. And that's what I work with my clients on. But
Yeah.
there's a tipping point where after we reprogram your brain, it's all neuroscience, right? You have
Yeah.
the same pathways that you've been living for 30 years, and we've got to adjust those and make new ones. Now mine are naturally kind.
Yeah. You probably don't even think nothing of it. It's just so second nature at this point.
Yeah. And
I
a
love
lot
that.
of the thoughts that disturbed me and took my peace before are not on my radar at all.
I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
what's the emotional bucket?
Um, the emotional bucket. Also on physical, I sleep like a pro.
I know, I'm about to say, I'm actually, because you do love sleep. So I'm like, I'm surprised sleep, but sleep's on point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my next podcast is actually on 14 habits for excellent sleep because I love sleep and
Oh,
I do it well. And with my
I do
autoimmune
it
diseases,
well.
I have to sleep like 9 hours a night versus somebody else who might need seven.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just don't make that a thing. Okay, so I sleep 9 hours a night. I think sometimes we get into this, but I shouldn't have to. And okay, well, that's just it is
Yeah.
what it is. And now
Yeah.
then I'm happy and I perform well. So who gives a shit?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Everyone's so different on that. Like I have a friend who she's a 9 hour person. Absolutely. And so I'm a 7 hour person. And so, yeah, I'm like, yeah, your body just needs 9 hours and that's okay. Nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Okay, so for emotional energy, um, let's talk about the 15-minute rule.
Okay.
So, I have luxurious amounts of time for the things that matter most. And one of the things that's important with your emotional energy is deregulating throughout the day. And before, I was a non-essentialist, which means I was very optimistic that I could get 10 times as much done as the average person in a day, right?
Yep.
And so, because of that, I mean, my day would be the most productive, amazing day ever, as long as there was never a red light. I never had to eat. I didn't have to go to the bathroom. No one wanted anything from me that was not on the pre-aligned schedule, right? And I was okay with like my cortisol levels being high all day long and being stressed out all day long, and then just at the end of the night, just slamming into bed,
Yeah.
exhausted, right? And so I lived that way for years. And that's part of why you hold on to weight too, right? That's
Yeah.
part of what ages you faster. And it just does not make for a good life. You can almost like feel it in your chest, that tightness when you're always behind and always in a hurry. And then you can't be in the moment because you're like, what's coming next?
Yeah.
So now I plan luxurious amounts of time for the things that matter most. So I have an extra hour booked on my calendar after this in case we wanted to go long or in case something came up, right? Like I'm never going to be like, oh, we got to wrap this up because this is
Yeah.
important to me. So I add in the extra time,
Oh, I
right?
love that.
So when I take my daughter to dance, I'm going to add in an extra 15 minutes. I had to literally retrain my brain to be like, it's okay to be early places. Like just sit in the parking lot. You have a phone, you can work on your phone, right? Like it's okay. But whenever you're down to the wire for everything, it's so stressful. You never get to down regulate during the day. So the 15-minute
Yeah.
rule is just add in 15 minutes to everything,
Yeah. Oh, I
everything
love
that's
that.
really important. So then you have that extra space to breathe, to prepare, to not be worried you're running late. You can
Yeah.
still be productive. So if I get to my office early, then I can work for 15 minutes. It doesn't mean that I'm wasting all of that time, but now I no longer have that stress and pressure all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I know that's so funny. You said that in my next podcast interview. She's just like, yeah, probably going to be like running behind just a couple of minutes or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, we can push like 10, 15 minutes, give you a breather. Like that's totally fine with me. So yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a learned trait too. For me, that comes so naturally. I always say that like I'm a healthy amount of selfish. Not in a bad way, but just the perfect amount that I do put myself first because I
Yeah.
am then able to show up. Because if I don't, I'm just a hot mess. Like I can't serve anyone in my life, like not even my kids. I'm just a hot mess. I just don't want them also to remember me as like the mom with the chicken with her head cut off and she just
Yeah.
loses her shit all the time. Like I don't want them to remember me
Yes.
that by. So I love
And
that.
15 minutes buys you that, right?
Yeah,
That's exactly how I describe myself before as the hot mess, high productive mom. And
yeah,
now I'm like the cool, calm executive mom.
yeah.
And it's 15 minutes that can keep me from coming in and showing up like really. Yeah. Some words came to my mind and I filtered that real quick for you.
See, I don't filter.
What podcast am I on? Can I say this today?
That's what I have to
um,
do when I'm a guest because usually I don't
right.
filter. And I'm like,
Wait,
wait.
wait. Is this allowed? Yeah, but I mean, it is that, the anger and the parts of you that you don't want to show up, it's not your best self. And
Yeah.
15 minutes can change the whole game.
It really can. It really can. Do you find that people, for what's going on mindset, because I know obviously that's like a huge part of like your process, do you find that there is anything people are doing to harm the process of having a healthy, balanced mindset?
Yeah, everything. So it's I mean, it really, so our natural brain, untouched, unedited, is there to protect us. And
Yep.
so going back to neuroscience, there's three things that it does, right? So seeks pleasure. wants to eliminate pain, and wants to conserve energy. That is what our survival brain is designed to do, and that is to protect us.
Yeah.
And what that also does is say, I want no change at all. I want to stay small, and I'm going to tell you everything is scary, and we're not going to expend any energy. Because I know right now the way that we are, we're physically safe where we are. So I don't want to change anything. So your
Mm,
mind untouched will keep you small and afraid,
very accurate.
right? So we have to talk to it all the time, almost like it's a toddler, and keep telling it to stop it. And like, no, we're okay. Don't worry. I appreciate
Yeah.
you trying to take care of me. We're good. Right? Like, put the knife down. Nope, we're good. We're good. Like, don't touch the burner. Like, your mind
Yeah.
will tell you everything is scary and bad and freak out all the time. And you got to calm it down.
Yeah.
And so I think that what we naturally do is keep ourselves small. And so if we want to change our mindset, we have to reprogram it all. And it's a
Yeah.
process, but once you do, I mean, it's completely life-changing.
Yeah.
I heard someone
Yeah.
once say, like, I don't know if I want to become a doctor or not because it takes 8 years. And so I won't even graduate until I'm 30. And my mom said to me, well, you're going to turn 30 either way. You're going to turn 30 either way. So either you're 30 and you're a doctor, or you're 30 and you're not a doctor. Right. And so for me, I work with my one-on-one clients for a year. And it's like, so you're a year from now is going to happen regardless. So either now you're owning your thoughts and your emotions and you can get anything you want out of life, or you're still small and scared.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that. What is, and I don't even know if I know how to phrase this question correctly, while you're working on your mindset and, you're taking things out, you're calming down your mind, taking things out that, shouldn't be there, you're going to have things that come up in your life that you can't control. And a lot of that is other people and how
Yeah.
other people aren't, obviously. Except when you're doing this work, you can just tell you're like, you're full of trauma. I'm just kidding, but you can kind of tell. But how do you not let that impact you
Yeah.
because of all
Yes.
the work you're doing?
Yeah. So we have my one-on-one coaching is all personalized to exactly what you need. And then in the group programs, we literally have that thread that you just said throughout every section. So like through the personal relationships, through the work relationships.
Yeah.
And so I teach people how to hone and can keep their energy. So everything that I do is about empowering you. Right.
Yeah.
So what my clients usually come to me, let's give a work example. They usually come to me and say that they have just let people run them over for so long and they have not said anything and they're ready to be strong and say something. And I'm like shaking my head because that's how they are, right? Like I'm ready to tell them off. And so that's what we call all or nothing thinking. And
Okay.
so then they'll overdo it. The pendulum will swing too far and they'll be like, that's bullshit. And, da, 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 and you're not going to treat me that way. Right. That is not a professional executive either. Right. I'm not going to tell you to be quiet and not say anything and be mousy either. We're going to hold our power, but we're
Mm,
going to do it in a really controlled way because you're not going to knock me off of my piece.
yeah.
There
I
are
love
things you
that.
might do that are not okay, and we're going to address those. Right. So I
Yeah.
have an example. A friend of mine had somebody in a work meeting who shushed her.
Oh.
She's like, they were on the phone with their like vendor partners, and one of her peers was like, shh. And she's like, I turned red. She's like, I turned my camera off. I was freaking livid and da da da. And it's like, those are the moments
Yeah.
where, but I'm not gonna turn red. I'm gonna be like, he did what? Brad really just thought he could shush me? I'm gonna find it humorous. Like, that shit is crazy. It's not okay. It's not professional, but it's not gonna bother me. And
Yeah.
for sure, I'm gonna address it. So
Yeah.
after our call, I'm gonna say, Brad, on that call, did you realize you shushed me? That's not professional at all. We're never doing that again. Right? Here's what you need to do if you need my attention. So I'm holding my own, like I won't be disrespected,
Yeah.
but it's not gonna keep like bother my peace.
Yeah.
Because people are crazy. So the saying that I use with my clients is silly little people do silly little things.
It's so true.
Right. And when you can think about it that way, it keeps you from going to that anger side. I was working with a client yesterday and she
Yeah.
goes, and she's normally is very congenial. And she goes, but there is a point in which I want to like, I'm going to go. And so we were like, well, let's identify that point. She goes, I think it feels like, I'm going to be so nice to you. But if you throw that first punch, like I am punching back. right?
Yeah.
And so I had her come up with imagery for it. And I said, I want you to think of a cartoon character of who you are in that moment when you're like ready to punch back. So can you guess who she came up with? I loved it.
No.
Like Popeye, right? Because he's always like getting ready to swing and he has this
Yeah.
little like, muscle out and whatever. And so I said, great. So whenever you feel those emotions, because she goes, once I go too, then I can't rein it back in. And this is like with
Yeah,
words,
you're
not
all.
physical actions, right? But it's like
But
that
yeah,
feeling.
yeah. Yeah.
And so I said, okay, so you're going to envision Popeye, and then you're going to think about spinach, and you're going to think about his little like muscle tattoo. I think he has like, what does he have? A little leaf on it or something,
Yeah.
a four-leaf clover or something. And then who do you want to be instead? Like, I want you to think of a calm cartoon character. Like, who do you want to show up as instead? And she came up with Garfield. And I was like, I love that. Like, Garfield's like just napping, chilling. He's the opposite of like intense reaction.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so I said, I want you to think about lasagna because Garfield loved lasagna. And it's just like these silly visuals because in the moment you do get heated and you get kind of back and forth and you're ready to go. And if you can calm your nervous system and think about Popeye and spinach instead, you'll start laughing at yourself, being like, I was really about to Popeye on him.
I love
And
that.
like now I can calm down and think about, wait. When I'm calm, when I feel safe, and that's a lot of the work we do is we have to have people have to feel safe before they can really grow.
Yeah.
Right. And so I have to bring myself back to, and that laughter can get you off track of the anger. So anger to laughter. And now I come back to security and knowing I'm safe.
Mhm.
Once I know I'm safe, I can let people be wrong about me.
Yeah.
I don't have to respond in the moment. Then I can say, what do I want to? How do I want? In what way would I feel the most power? Would it feel professional? Would it feel aligned with who I am and who I want to be? And you give yourself that time to think about it. And
Yeah.
some things you'll say, I don't care about this. Like not my circus, not my monkey, not the molehill, the hill I'm gonna molehill, the hill I'm gonna die on, whatever it is. And then you're able to let it go. Or you say, no, this was disrespectful. And I do want to
Yeah.
set things straight. And so how am I gonna do that? And it's all about being intentional, right? But we have to get people out of that moment of emotion. We
Yeah.
have to bring them back to being calm and secure and knowing they're okay. And then we'll thoughtfully decide. And so a lot of what I do with my clients, we meet every single week and we just do 30-minute calls. And they'll say, this is what happened this week. Here's how I backed down from it, right? We're making progress. And now here's what I think I want to say. And like, let's talk through if that would be the right way or not.
Yeah.
And then I have a way of helping them think through, we're not going to make the other person feel stupid. We actually want to empower the other person too and have them at the end of it leave thinking that you're a good partner and somebody they respect and somebody that they want to, please and do a good job with next time.
Yeah.
Not, oh my God, she's a bitch because she like held her ground, right? But it's hugely different on how you approach it. And so we can work on those real life scenarios that you're in so that you master that skill set and that changes your entire image of the company.
Yeah, it really does. And I see so many similarities too that sometimes the answer is just slowing down, like slowing down to respond, slowing down in health. A lot of things you got to slow down to speed up, slow down to get
Yeah.
results. And it really is about that. So I love that. As we close up, do you have any books or podcasts outside of your own, which you guys should absolutely subscribe? Any that you can think of that were game changers, whether it's in business or health, that just really stand out to you to this day?
Essentialism is my first book recommendation.
Okay.
So it's the disciplined pursuit of doing less. It is a game changer if you are overly busy and a workaholic.
Love.
Um, for health, I don't know if I have a book for health. Um, some other podcasts that I love is We Can Do Hard Things by Glennon Doyle, Diary of a CEO,
Oh my
DOA.
gosh, that one has been on like everyone's resource list. I'm gonna have to give it a try.
Yeah, it's really good. Some of them are really long, like 2 hours long, but he has some
Oh my
great
gosh.
experts on, and that one's amazing. Um, I feel like I need to get out my phone. I wasn't prepared for this question, but I have so many that I love. Like I listen to everything constantly. The Life Coach School is the best podcast that I ever listened to for life coaching. And it's by Brooke Castillo. She's actually taking a year off of her business. She's a $100 million life coaching business. And she's taking a
Nice.
year off to follow her son around the globe as he's going into the like majors for golf, the
Oh,
PGA. So
I love that.
yeah, so that's fun. And so that one is one that can absolutely change your life.
I love that. Well, yay, those are great. And then where can we find you? Website, social, podcast?
Yeah, so shaylaking.com is the website. I'm on all the socials. You can find me under Shayla King. But LinkedIn is where is my primary play space since I've got all the corporate clients.
Yeah.
And then the podcast is called the 5% Club Podcast. And I named it that because everyone wants to be in the top 10% of earners and of performers, but half the people at the top are miserable. And we're doing it different over here, right?
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
the 5%. We talk about the mindset, we talk about results, relationships, and rituals that you need to have a life that you love. And it's all, I teach my performance and happiness formula on it. So it is,
Yeah.
most of my clients are corporate, but everything on there works for entrepreneurs, works for stay at home moms, because we do so much of the mindset work.
Yeah. I love that. I know. I've loved it. I was like, hey guys, I was like one of the first reviews, just saying.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, yay. Thanks for coming
Yeah.
on today and hanging out with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and I will see you soon.